What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to our Wednesday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn young prodigy CJ Vogel, and of course, we're here to answer all of your questions, address any comments that you have. So throw them out there. We'll address and answer as many of them as we can. You know the rules. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Just throw a super chat out there. We'll make sure we, obviously address that ASAP. Also, we'll talk about the availability report that's supposed to be coming out here momentarily. We'll get to that as it relates to the Longhorns and the Kentucky Wildcats matchup this weekend. Also, recruiting nuggets. We are creeping closer and closer to National Signing Day. So, CJ's got some nice recruiting nuggets as it relates to the official visitors for this weekend's game. So we'll talk about that too coming up a little bit later on. Also, we'll get to previewing Texas, Kentucky just a little bit. All of the items you guys want to discuss. I know you guys are still talking a lot about Quinn Ewers and his performance and inconsistency. We can address that too. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll dive into it. College football playoff rankings, Longhorns number 3 in the latest installment of the college football playoff rankings. That's also something that we can dive into on the show. So a lot of different things to do. We'll start off maybe with some recruiting. Thank you guys for all of you guys for joining us and all your participation. You guys know it means a lot to us that you join us each and every night here on Texas Football. Hooking from Arkansas. Yay, man. Appreciate you guys. Anytime y'all joining us from enemy territory, we know it really means a lot. You guys are behind enemy lines there, so we appreciate that. All right, CJ, let's start out. We'll get to the availability report. We'll get to talking Texas, Kentucky, and, of course, all your questions, throw them out there. We'll gather them up and start answering those throughout the show. But the recruiting weekend is supposed to be a big one for Texas, considering it is the last scheduled home game, I should say, for the Longhorns. And it's going to be senior night. I believe my man Craig Wade's calling it farewell night because of the new transition and the new landscape of college football. It's not always seniors that are leaving. Some guys leaving early to go to the NFL. Some guys last night playing at DKR because they'll be hitting the transfer portal. So farewell night, senior night, whatever you want to call it. But it should be a big recruiting night as well for Texas, considering the official visitors. As a matter of fact, we do have a question already. Carrie A says, who's doing officials this weekend? There you go. So they'll kick us off kind of getting into some of the recruiting nuggets about this weekend.
Yeah, 3 guys on official visits for the Longhorns this weekend. The first, we'll start with Zalis Hicks, already committed to the Longhorns, a defensive back safety prospect, about 6'1.5", 6'2", 190 pounds, out of Georgia, had committed to the Texas 2026 class, reclassified over. Good news for Texas, he'll be on campus for his 3-day official visit this weekend against Kentucky. Of course, Tennessee, Auburn, Georgia, a number of other programs trying to peel him away from that Texas pledge. Right now, Texas doing everything they can to get to December 4th, have him sign on the dotted lines and make him, a full-time Longhorn going forward. The big one that's kind of 50-50 in the moment, but leaning more so towards happening, according to Jerry Hamilton over at On Texas Football, Zion Williams, the big interior defensive lineman out of Lufkin, Texas, committed to Bo Davis over at LSU once he made the flip over there. He's got family members, a girlfriend right now at LSU, so a lot of ties over in that direction. But there have been some positive conversations as of late with Kenny Baker and Zion Williams. It's more than a 50-50 chance right now that he makes it to campus. Of course, our Jerry Hamilton's been on top of that one as well. And then IMG Academy linebacker Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng still scheduled in for his official visit this weekend. We'll see if he makes the trip. But those are the 3 official visitors at the moment. He, of course, Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, kind of being picked right now to end up at Michigan, Florida, Florida State, Miami, all schools that would like to keep the IMG prospect at home as well. But right now, a lot of interest from the Longhorns. Of course, Texas just hosted Kellen Wiley for an official visit 2 weeks ago. So we'll see just what ends up here moving forward at the linebacker spot. But right now, those are the 3 guys on campus. But 2 5-star prospects to keep an eye out on as well. Michael Fasusi, currently committed to Oklahoma, the 5-star tackle out of Louisville. He's expected on campus. Interestingly, there enough, Rod, I mean, he's picking Texas versus Kentucky over Oklahoma, who he's committed to, who hosts Alabama. So that should give you an idea of what his commitment level is like to the Sooners. Of course, there's some question marks about where Oklahoma is going to go at offensive coordinator. What does that mean for Bill Bedenbaugh? It really shouldn't mean anything. If they're smart, they should keep Bedenbaugh forever because I think he's one of the better offensive line coaches in the country. But point being, he's at least looking around, and he'll be at Texas A&M next week whenever the Longhorns go to College Station. The other one to keep an eye out on, and we talked about this last night, Cade Phillips, the minted five-star cornerback, currently committed to LSU as well. He's expected to make it to campus. Texas just added Grayson Littleton to be their number 2 cornerback in the class this year. Well, now Texas potentially adding a third if all goes well with Cade Phillips. Our Jerry Hamilton, again, put up a great note on Cade Phillips earlier today. If you haven't seen that just yet, make sure to go over to ontexasfootball.com and get the latest on all things breaking news, recruiting-wise. 5 big-time visitors in the class of 2025, and then a number of guys elsewhere in the 26 and 27 classes that you can find over there at On Texas Football.
Oh, good stuff there, CJ. Yeah, shout out to Anthony Williams, dad of lifetime Longhorn, Aaron Williams. He has these great satellite camps, different camps, showcase opportunities for players. He invited me to coach at one of those in San Antonio one time, and I got a chance to actually coach some of the youngsters. Cade Phillips was one of the youngsters out there. And
that's sweet.
Oh, man, loved coaching the young man. My favorite story about him is this. We were basically, it was myself, Aaron Williams was out there, a couple other guys, NFL guys out there, and we had to keep him from skipping the line. Okay, essentially, we do one-on-one drills. He would do a one-on-one drill, come back, and then I don't know how many guys we had there. I mean, you got hundreds of kids there. He would come back, skip the line, and try to go get back into the drill as quickly as possible. And he did it a few times, and then we had to stop the drill. He's one of the guys stop the drill and say, "Hey, man, listen." And we weren't reprimanding him. We're like, if you let him skip you to take your reps, then honestly, I'm getting on you because you don't want it bad enough. This dude wants it. That's why he's skipping the line because he wants it bad. He wants them reps. All right. And I admire him for wanting them reps, but I'm going to need y'all to also try to take them reps back. So the competitive sickness of the young man was on display there. But in addition to that, he's long, he's rangy, and athletic. And he actually can be a press corner for Texas. So I understand why he wanted to play corner. But I think the way Texas is going, they want versatile DBs. The guy can play, I think, any position in secondary. I think he projects to be one of those guys. They can play any position in secondary. So I'm hoping they do get Cade Phillips. Personally, I'm hoping that's the case. But also, I think for Texas, he can be a real difference maker for him. No question about that. So that's my Cade Phillips story.
That's pretty sweet, Rod.
No, he's legit, man. He's, like I said, the young man's got that competitive fire. I was a big fan of him after that camp. All right. Thanks for CJ. Thanks for those nuggets. We appreciate those. I know we got a lot of questions here, but first, let's thank one of our sponsors before we move on tonight, Andy Ludicky and his team. If you're looking to diversify, you may be someone like me that has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. Call him or email him today to learn more about his great process. If you're stuck in a corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you can make or your schedule in general, call Andy and he will take you through a process to help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your destiny, call Andy today. You see the number right there, 404-973-9901, or you can email him at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. That's andy@myperfectfranchise.net. And thank you very much, Andy, to you and your team for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. We appreciate that. All right, I know we got some questions. We'll get to those. Hit the availability report because I think it's already out. Matthew, we appreciate you because you don't want to let us know that it had already hit the headlines. So thank you. There's Matthew already on top of it. Here's the Longhorns availability reports for this weekend's matchup with Kentucky. Out, of course, Derek Williams Jr., CJ Baxter, Christian Clark, Dylan Gardner. They've been out for at least most of the season, if not all of the season for some of those guys. DeAndre Moore, who left the Arkansas game early, he is questionable. Maurice Blackwell, who also was on the availability report last week, he is questionable as well. And Colton Vasek, who also was unavailable last week, he is questionable. So those are the 3 guys questionable. We'll see if they are upgraded or downgraded. Did we ever find out what the Colton Vasek thing was? CJ? I don't know if we ever
That's
found
the
out.
one that's it's still escaping me right now. I've not gotten to the bottom of it. Hopefully, it's nothing that has been a lingering issue from the spring or even last year. But hopefully, we'll find something else out this upcoming weekend. I will say one big positive about the Texas injury report is no mention of Jaden Blue, because again, we talked about it right after the game. He was seen in his sling loading up on the bus after that Arkansas game. He talked to reporters. He, of course, got back on the bus, practiced Monday, but in a limited role. Sarkisian said he's hopeful to get him back on the field. For him to not be mentioned in the availability report on Wednesday evening, very good sign for a Longhorn running back, of course, because you see 3 straight RBs on that list, and that doesn't bode well in one of the more important positions offensively that you could have.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. All right. Yeah. And so we still don't know about Colton Vacaville. Some people are curious about that. Let's go to the Kentucky side of the availability report, if you don't mind there, Matthew. Thank you very much. Good Lord. Okay. Can't even get it all. Yeah, you got to shrink the screen to get all those damn injuries, the injuries on that availability report. Okay, out. These are all the guys that are out for Kentucky. You have DJ Waller Jr., Jansen Dunn, 2 DBs. They are out. Devarian Wayner, inside linebacker, out. Another DB, Terrian Nichols, he's also out. D lineman Darian Henry Young is out as well. De'Aaron Jackson, inside linebacker, out. Gerald Mincy, O lineman, is out. Tavian Gadsden, D lineman, is out as well. And then you have Cortland Ford. He's an O lineman who's questionable. Khalil Saunders is a D lineman who's questionable. And then you have JJ Weaver, who's probable here, an outside linebacker who's probable. That's a lot of guys on the availability report for Kentucky. Looks like those injuries are mounting up for them. And this is, I got to tell you, it's a bad game to go into the game against Texas, considering being ranked the number 3 team in the college football playoff on the road with that many injuries. So Kentucky will be fighting an uphill battle going up against a Longhorn team that is relatively healthy compared to most other teams in the SEC right now.
Yeah, DJ Waller being out, that's an important one. They were hopeful, maybe a little optimistic that he would return to the field here. Stephen Houston and any of these guys, Kentucky's top contributors. JJ Weaver has 4 sacks, 20 pressures on the year. He can go off the edge. I know he's listed as an outside linebacker. Edge rusher, he's a guy that can really go. Gerald Mincy, a transfer into the program. He's been out for a few weeks, I believe. Cortland Ford, I believe, is actually from Cedar Hill, if I'm not mistaken. But that's someone that they are hoping to get back into the mix here. 2 big notes right here. Barian Brown did not play last week. He's not on this injury report, expected to play against the Longhorns. One of the speedier, faster, more electric and dynamic players that you will see in all of college football, expected to be back on the field for the Wildcats. You also don't see Deion Walker on this availability report. Why is that surprising? Well, he was limited and kind of held out against Kentucky's last game last week. So that's big because, again, Rod, we've talked about it. Deion Walker, one of the most impactful defensive linemen in all of the country. He's going to be expected to go full speed ahead for the Longhorns. Barian Brown, Deion Walker, 2 of Kentucky's best players overall on either side of the football, expected back against the Longhorns this weekend.
And what about, because also I don't see on here Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback. Now, he was dealing with a shoulder injury that had him missing most of the season. There's some people that said he was expected back versus Murray State or whoever they played. Didn't come back versus Murray State. I don't see him on here. Is it possible we're trying to get him back for the Texas game? Because I don't see him on here. I'm trying to look for it right now to see if there's.
I haven't seen anything on Twitter either. So I just searched his name, haven't seen anything. So either it's an omission or, hey, he's back. So Kentucky might be bringing back 3 of their top 3 overall players, really, against Texas with Maxwell Hairston, Deion Walker, and Barian Brown. It'll be really interesting to see what their status is and if fully healthy, what their impact will be. I have no questions. Deion Walker will be a guy. But right now, again, nine full games at health for Barian Brown right now. He's 37 targets on the year. It's pedestrian when you consider what Dane Key has brought in with over 80 targets on the season. But the point being, when fully healthy, he's as electric a wide receiver you will find in the SEC. So that's just one other guy that Texas will have to keep an eye on this Saturday, should he be on the field.
I found one report that says while Harrison's return is expected to come against in-state foe Murray State, it says that a game they're expected to be favored in and be a huge favorite. It says they'll have their work cut out for them during their final 2 weeks for the regular season. So it says that he was expected back last week, but I don't think he played last week. So if that's the case, he was expected back last week. I guess I go look at last week's injury report to see if he was on there, and then they don't have him on this injury report. I'm with you, CJ. My assumption is that he's gonna play. Unless they're pulling some type of unless they're doing something shady with the injury report or availability report, I should say, which could happen. So he's their best DB. So now we're talking about the defense, maybe in terms of him adding back to the equation. You said Deon Walker also expect to play. This may be the healthiest the defense has been, maybe in quite some time, depending on. Like you said, the impact players on this availability report as well. But if Harrison comes back, that's an NFL cornerback. Deon Walker's an NFL defensive lineman. They got NFL players on every level of that defense. That's what makes it a dangerous situation for Texas, because Kentucky's defense, they're worthy of our respect. Offensively, they're on the struggle bus. But defensively, they can go. They got some guys that can go. All right. There you go. So that's the availability report. We'll get back to that availability report. Thank you for that, Matthew. Really appreciate that. Before we move on here, let's thank another one of our sponsors. I want to thank the Carrot Concierge. Gentlemen, all right, guys out there, I know y'all are like to procrastinate. Gift-giving season is on the horizon. I know we got another holiday in between because you got Thanksgiving in between the Christmas holiday. But I'm telling you, if you start right now, or at least start to do the due diligence right now, you can be on top of it and hit a home run for the gift-giving season. And the way you hit that home run, a grand slam home run, is to reach out to our friend Jody at thecarrotconcierge.com. If you're looking for the right gift for the right person in your life, make sure you check out thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody Reynolds is a personal jeweler. She is the Carrot Concierge. You can check out that QR code right there on your screen right there, and you can scan that and you can see a lot of her beautiful inventory with an office right there in Westlake. Jody focuses on helping men purchase the special gift for that special person in their life. You can use that QR code, as I just mentioned, right there to see even more of her inventory, or visit her on Instagram, or visit her website at thecarrotconcierge.com. Jody prides herself in providing personal service. She takes the extra steps to make sure your lady gets exactly what she wants, and because she doesn't have the overhead of a storefront, she can often get the highest quality inventory at the lowest possible price, as much as 30% less than what you see at a jewelry store, folks. So if you're a baller on a budget like me, you'll appreciate what the Carrot Concierge can do for you. If you're looking for something special for birthdays, anniversaries, or Christmas, which is right around the corner, Jody has a variety of tennis bracelets, rings, necklaces, and more. All beautiful jewelry, all personalized for you and yours. Check out the carrotconcierge.com. Visit her website or give her a call today or text her and take care of that very special person in your life. The carrotconcierge.com. We appreciate all of her support and for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, I know we got some questions here, so let's jump right into them. Oh, we got super chats. Thank you, Bob, Men of America. Says, okay, Quinn is not perfect. Who else in college football this year would you want? List is short, in my humble opinion. Turnovers are down with an elite D on his sidelines. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all a little surprised. Thank you very much, Bob, Men of America, for the super chat there. So I think we're all surprised because I think the assumption was before the season, the offense would be the identity of this team. And now 10 games in, the offense is not bad at all. The offense is good. It's still one of the better offenses in the country, but it's not an elite offense, and it's not necessarily the identity of the team. The defense is the identity of the team. The defense is elite. So I don't think there's anything wrong with leaning on that. Even Sark said he had no problem leaning on that. So I think that's ultimately, part of why Quinn's getting so much blowback and criticism is because of the surprise that the offense has taken a back seat this season to the defense.
That's exactly it, right? And it was expected that the offensive line was going to be a big part. Necessarily hasn't been that way as well. So you just got to figure out what your identity is and make the most of it, right? When Quinn is good, this offense is really, really good, right? That's one of the things, though, is that you've seen the inconsistency, you've seen the roller coaster, the ups, the downs. To the point, though, I like what you said in the last part of this, Bob Man of America, is turnovers are down, especially since that Georgia game, that Vanderbilt game, were two picks by deflections at the line of scrimmage. You can't really predict all of that, but Quinn Ewers hasn't put the ball in harm's way all too often this year, and I think that's encouraging to not give opposing offenses those short fields that hampered that entire Georgia game. Quinn's a smart football player. Maybe too smart at times because he doesn't take the chances down the field that you'd like to at times. But, hey, if he takes care of the football, ends every drive with a kick, Texas will win more games than they lose. And that right now is the most important part for Quinn, for Texas, for Steve Sarkisian. Just find a way to get that defense on the field, restart drives if you're in a bad situation, and don't allow them to benefit off of poor plays offensively, turnovers, fumbles, poor punts, whatever you say. But right now, again, we know what Quinn Ewers is. It's all about maximizing what he can be. And when he's good, that ceiling is high. When he's not, well, you got to find ways to benefit from that defense.
Yep. Good stuff there. Thank you, Super Chat. Thank you for the Super Chat, Bob Man of America. Appreciate that. Cisco's got another Super Chat here. Thank you, Cisco. Says, how does Sark attack the Kentucky defense? That is a good question because it's a legit defense. CJ and I talked about it. I mean, it's a top 25, top 30 defense in a lot of major important categories. We're talking about scoring defense, pass defense, total defense. I like their red zone defense, actually. They're kind of a bend but don't break in the red zone, really actually effective in limiting touchdowns, I should say, in the red zone, but giving up field goals. To me, that's a win these days on the defensive side. CJ, what are your thoughts initially, how you think Sark will attack the Kentucky defense? We know Sark is going to lead with the pass. That's just his MO. That's who they are. Do you think there's more vertical elements in this passing game against a Kentucky pass defense that actually has been a strength of theirs?
Yeah, I wonder if coming back home, playing in front of the Burnt Orange faithful, I wonder if that does anything to Quinn in terms of getting the vertical passing game going. Again, you can kind of liken it to a three-point shooter. When he's going to a new gym, maybe a college gym to a pro gym, it takes some time. I don't know if that means anything for Quinn, but we've certainly seen him play his best football at home aside from that Georgia football game. So I wonder if the vertical shot will return. I do think it'll be another big game for Gunnar Helm, the running backs out of the backfield, adding the emphasis for DeAndre Moore if he's able to go, Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond. Hey, we need you guys to block in the open field. We need you guys to be the ones that set the edge, that create lanes for the running backs, for the tight ends, for other wide receivers to create after the space, right? Rod, remember first drive of the game, Texas has a second and 2. They run a little jet sweep. They lose 8 yards. Now you're punting.
Yeah.
And so it's little things like that where you can't allow missed blocks or a lack of effort on the outside be the reason for drives to stall. And that's happened a little bit recently. So I think it's going to be more of the underneath. It would be very helpful if Texas would be able to get some running game going. I actually charted it, Rod, last week. Quinn Ewers in the Texas offense with him as quarterback has kind of sat between 65 to 75% of their snaps, has used some sort of pre-snap motion ahead on every snap, right? Every single game so far this year has ranged 65, 75%. Against Arkansas, we saw 40 snaps of 12 personnel. It was the most we've seen the entire year. 40 out of the 76 snaps. On top of that, we saw 55% of those snaps include pre-snap motion. So I don't know necessarily if it was just the package, the personnel on the field saying we don't have the speedsters on the field with 12 personnel to maybe create those mismatches and that instant acceleration for snaps with 12 personnel on the field. But I thought it was interesting that it did dip that much. And, again, we saw 5 punts in the first half. We saw 4 3-and-outs throughout the afternoon. Was that a result of a lack of pre-snap movement? Was that a result of 12 personnel? I don't know. But those were the 2 trends that I saw as outliers versus previous games so far this season.
So that's great stuff, CJ. And I also wonder, because it seems like based on my notes and just observing Sark versus 3-high teams that utilize and deploy the 3-high, I've noticed that his pre-snap motion rates of pre-snap motion shifts, they do drop off a little bit. And I almost wonder if it's Sark determining that his pre-snap motion shifts are not as effective, or maybe they are counterproductive against the 3-high looks. And they don't provide the the advantage, that kind of built-in advantage that he usually gets from that's pre-snap motion shifts against 3 high defenses. It also could be the reason we saw him play so much 12 personnel because of going up against a 3 high. You want to be able to run the football, and maybe that's why we saw him increase to 12 personnel. But that good stuff, I actually have no idea. But I think you should always have a lot of pre-snap motion. I would never decrease it if I was Sark, but I think it may be an adjustment he has to facing the 3 high, which is why it also is a good counter for a Sark offense, because if he's going to decrease pre-snap motion, that's a force multiplier that he's decided, or a cheat code he's deciding to use less of.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think pre-snap motion, especially when you have the 11 personnel package on the field, that presents so many issues for you. I like bringing up the pony package, and I know you do too, Rob, because you got all the numbers, all the details about it. But I charted 5 plays on Saturday against Arkansas with Texas in the 21 personnel pony package. Those plays went for 17, 11, 6, 5, and then -8 on the screen pass to Trey Wisener.
Yeah.
So that skews the numbers just a little bit. That should have been a play. Quinn Ewers threw it 20 rows up into the stands. But listen, when you're averaging, I can't do the quick math right there, 39 yards on 4 snaps, something's working right there in that pony package. And on top of the pony package, you had 100% motion in that pony package, mostly with the Trey Wisener coming across. You saw at times Silas Bolden was doing the orbit motion. So that to me says, hey, if you're stagnant in that 2 tight end look, go ahead and toss on Jaden Blue and Trey Wisener again, because for whatever reason, outside of that lost screen yardage, you were at 39 yards on 4 plays. And I think you take that time and time again.
That's a great substitute. And I love that too, because I've noticed actually, and I think I'm not going to take credit for it, but I think I made it up on plays where Sark has multiple instances of motion, or one player motioning multiple times. I call it multi-motion plays. On the 2 back sets, the pony package, you'll notice a lot of times you have a guy coming in jet motion, and then he'll orbit back around the formation.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot.
He's going around the world.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I was like, oh, that is so cool. I don't even know if it makes a difference, but I just think it's really a cool look for Sark. All right, good stuff there. Let's get back to the questions here. How about this one from Shivam? He says, last year, Quinn threw for 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. This year, he's already at 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions while missing 2 games. Do y'all think he was better last year or this year? Oh, that is a good question, Shivam. What do we like? We like 2023 Quinn or 2024 Quinn? We got a good sample size now. Oh, man, that's good. Because basically, I feel like the Bama game last year was kind of his Michigan game this year, where it's like, that guy looks like he should be a first-round pick. That guy's unbelievable. He might be the best quarterback in the country. That Michigan game is, I felt like that was how we all were talking about Quinn after the Michigan game. And we all felt like that after that Bama game last year. And then some inconsistent play after that. Ooh, that's a great question, Shivam. Okay, who you got, CJ? 2023 Quinn or 2024 Quinn? Which one was better?
It's interesting. I don't know if I've sat back and compared the two.
Me neither.
But I don't know. It's tough because you see the red zone numbers and you see 21 touchdowns on 150 less attempts. That's great, right? That to me tells you he's converting more in the red zone. He's more accurate when he's closer to the scoring end zone. He's finding a way to punch in drives in which last year that was not the case. So you can move the ball all the way down the field, but if you're settling for 3 or going for on 4th down and not converting, what's the whole point? They are converting more in the red zone.
Yep.
But there's also been more stalled drives in my eyes this year, right? I don't think there was a game at all last year, with maybe the exception of going all the way back to 2022, TCU or Oklahoma State, where, you saw the interception against Oklahoma State. You saw the really lack of offense against TCU. 23 didn't really have many first down routes. I'll put it that way. I think that was kind of, and of course, Jonathan Brooks, CJ Baxter, that definitely helped Quinn Ewers and that offense move the ball.
Yeah.
You don't have that luxury this year, right? Really, you have one of the more inconsistent hit or miss running games Texas had quite some time. But the point being, it feels like he's better where it matters this year in the red area, but there's been a little bit less of that consistency of ball movement where we saw 2023, maybe with just that familiarity with Xavier Worthy, Jatavian Sanders, the running game, whatever it is, that helped him a little bit more. I think I'm taking 2023 Quinn. I think it's been a bit of a regression this year, especially next season in the same system. You'd expect that step up. He's done that in the red zone, but between the 20s, I'm not sure if it's been there yet.
Yeah, that's good. I do agree he's better in the red zone now, but I think it's because Sark has simplified things in the red zone. Go look at the plays they're calling in the red zone. They're really simple. They're quick half-field reads. He's rolling out. They've simplified the process for him in the red zone so that he either doesn't have to go through progressions or he can go through progressions really, really quickly. And it's made a huge difference. More misdirection in the red zone for him, too. So he's definitely a better quarterback in the red zone. I don't know if he's handling pressure better than he did last year. And I think that's what scouts, they definitely wanted to see. Is he better at handling pressure? I'm not necessarily sure that is the case for Quinn. All right. Thank you guys for the questions. Getting back to him here. How about this one from RW? RW says, what up, Rod and CJ? Question, do y'all think Aaron Bryan will be the next version of Sweat and Collins when it comes to guys that wait their turn to shine? That's a great question, W, because that D tackle position, man, it's becoming a special pipeline now. I mean, running back obviously is the pipeline right now in Texas. I mean, you got the Rojo and Bijan, and you got you also after that you got Jay Brooks, Keelan Robinson also dropped 2 running backs at a position that's been devalued in football. That's impressive because the position overall, they don't even want to draft running backs, and Texas getting multiple running backs drafted in back-to-back years. That's impressive. The D tackle position arguably has become a premium position in football now. There are more D tackles making, I think, $20 million or more these days than there are defensive ends and edge rushers. Like it's now a premium position. So Texas, in each of the last 2 years, has had 2 D tackles drafted, and it looks like they're going to do it again, CJ. And do you think they can keep this up now after Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton move on? Will they keep this pipeline going with Aaron Bryan, or who else is next in that pipeline, in your opinion?
Yeah, it would be huge if it's Aaron Bryan. Of course, you look at guys that have had to wait their turn. It starts with Keandre Coburn and Moro Ojimo, right? Those guys were on the field maybe a little bit early in their career, but it didn't necessarily mean that they were destined to become NFL draft picks, right? They had to develop into that, and they did. Next up, Byron Murphy, T'Vondre Sweat, and now Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lele. That's kind of where we're at. And it's been a tremendous kind of family of defensive tackles for Bryant to be the guy. First off, I'd like to see him on the field a little bit because he's not necessarily had opportunities this year, maybe not as much as last year, which means, hey, you know who is coming on the field? That's going to be Alex January. So
that's real. We've
seen a lot of the true freshmen out of Duncanville already on the field this year. I would expect him to be maybe that next guy to stand up. It'd be huge if it's Aaron Bryant. Sadir Mitchell, we've seen him sporadically so far this year as well. Texas is going to have some pieces in the cabinet to work with if you're Kenny Baker for next year. Who's going to be the guy that you rely on? I think Alex January. It starts with him and Tia Savea with what he would return for the Longhorns next year as well, before what's going to be a really talented 2025 true freshman class coming in.
Yep, I feel like D tackle, I've said this before, it's one of those positions you need a long-term strategy and a short-term strategy, and you should be working both of them consistently and making sure you got a short-term players you can depend on at that position, and then the long-term development because it's just you never really know. And it's such a shortage of available talent at that position, D tackle, which is one of those positions. All right, before we move on, let's thank another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our friends at HomeField before we move on. I know we got a lot more questions and we're going to get to them. HomeField Apparel, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out for yourself, homefieldapparel.com. And we want to thank them for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream here. HomeField is focused on creating officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. They have a wide range of available colleges, including 180 plus and counting, ladies and gentlemen, growing every day. They also have a can't miss football box kickoff campaign right now, folks. And it is great. It contains 3 never before seen items in their football boxes, unavailable anywhere else. So you can't get these items anywhere other than HomeField. Platinum Box VIPs will receive additional exclusive items, including a new hat or a ringer for Platinum Box VIPs only. The 2024 Platinum Pass, which is going to guarantee you 20% off and early access to some of their exclusive merchandise. So go check out homefieldapparel.com. Remember to use the code, you can see it right there, Texas24, for 15% off. The convenience of online shopping has never been better. thanks to HomeFieldApparel.com. Check out their vintage designs and use the code Texas24 for 15% off. Thank you very much to HomeFieldApparel.com for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, Justin has a super chat here. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. You guys can interrupt the show at any time. Just throw a super chat out there. We appreciate it. Justin says, I take this year Quinn. I think the offense as a whole misses the power run game that kept defenses more honest. Yeah, I think ultimately last year's Quinn just had more support, it feels like, overall.
Yeah.
With the run game, I think the offensive line last year may have been a little bit more consistent, especially in the run blocking and just the overall talent in the backfield. I mean, Jay Brooks gets hurt. You bring in C.J. Baxter. You had Keelan Robinson. That's a guy that got drafted, too, at the running back position. He just had more support, I think, for Quinn. And the weapons that he had. And by the way, this group of receivers is one of the deepest groups in the country. But they have not been with Quinn a long time. Quinn was with Xavier Worthy the entire time he was at Texas. And J.T. Sanders got a chance to kind of grow up with that group. And maybe that helped him a little bit in terms of his comfort level, too. But I honestly, I think that is a very small, maybe a minuscule factor, if that, because his wide receiving group has been good. Matter of fact, they've been the most consistent part of the offense is the wide receiving core.
Yeah,
they really
definitely. It would be interesting, and I hate to play the hypothetical game, Rod, but if Quinn didn't get hurt, what would this conversation have been like week 3 if we had it? Would you rather have had Quinn through the first 3 games versus what we saw in 2023? I think the answer is absolutely yes, right? He goes to Ann Arbor, plays maybe one of his best football games as a quarterback against a really talented defense, comes back, starts 14 of 16 with 2 scores, right? He was going to throw for 400 yards in that game. Mm-hmm. And then that injury occurs, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, we'll get him back. He'll just return to that level. And that same level hasn't been there, right? It hasn't shown up. But I know that's who he is now. It's just interesting to see how it's kind of changed since then, because beforehand, I think the answer is, yeah, he's taken that step. He's going to be the Heisman. He's going to be in that conversation. That's at least through 3 weeks saying he's looked like he's, evolved a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it really is an interesting conversation because, like, to Shivam's point he made earlier about comparing last year's stats and this year's stats, really the biggest difference, and we all know, is just that the fans are ready for Arch. They saw Arch. They put, we got a good look at Arch this year, making his first start. And I think for Longhorn fans, that now the context has changed a little bit for Quinn because Arch has now been added. That's my mic. I got unplugged. I apologize. All right. Getting back to the questions. Todd has a question here. Says, what new wrinkles might we see from Sark, PK, and special teams? I think Sark's new wrinkle could be first of all, more pony package. I don't know if that's a new wrinkle.
Yep.
If anything, a new wrinkle could be if Kentucky does decide to use a little bit more of the 3 high look because they're taking from the Arkansas game plan, that Sark goes back to some of the original solutions that he came up with in the Big 12. And like I said, I don't know why he didn't pursue those more vigorously and gratuitously versus Arkansas, but he didn't. And if they break it out and say Texas is having some issues, I wouldn't be surprised to see the 6 O-line package because I know he doesn't like it. CJ asked him about it. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to use it. So I'm not pressuring Sark to use it. But when I tracked the 6 O-line package versus teams that majored or minored in the 3 high defense deployed versus Texas, it was a very successful package where you were averaging over 5 yards per rush, where you were averaging damn near 14 yards per attempt, right? Very successful package versus 3 high. Same thing was true for when he would run an unbalanced. He kind of ran unbalanced quads like against Iowa State and TCU and K-State at times last year. It's very interesting. He would have a covered receiver, cover up a guy, but it was more about, I think, having numbers in the running game and trying to run the ball versus that 3 high. And they had success with that too when they would run that unbalanced formation. I went back and tracked it and found that Texas was really good running some of those what I call the quads, but it's more of an unbalanced look. 6 yards per rush and almost 9 yards per attempt in that. So I do think if Kentucky uses the 3 high, you could see Sark go back to some of those original solutions that he crafted in the Big 12, but that wouldn't be a new wrinkle necessarily. For PK and Johnny Nansen, I feel like we see something relatively new with them every week, CJ. Something we haven't seen. I think now what we're seeing new from PK and Jane Anson is DB blitzes. More DBs are blitzing. Have you noticed that? Safe blitzing.
Jalen Gilbo, Jade Barron, they're getting home too, which means that the design, the timing, and the execution are all on par for what you'd expect when that play call comes. The one thing I might throw out there, Rod, is that bear front that we've seen every now and then or so, right? We saw it again against Arkansas, but it hadn't necessarily been a big part of the Texas defense really since the Michigan game. I know that there was maybe a game or two elsewhere in the mix where Texas relied on that Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton look. I wonder if that makes a return this weekend, because I went through the numbers earlier today as well. Kentucky doesn't like to throw the football, and for good reason, right? They're not very good at it. What I came up with is they throw the ball 26 times a game. They run the ball 38 times. So that's 12 more snaps where they're looking to run, get after you in the trenches versus dropping back to pass with Brock Vandagriff. So with that said, if they're able to hold on to the rock, maybe get a first down or two, they're going to shorten the game. Mm-hmm. They don't move the ball very often. Again, they don't have a great offense, but with that said, they're still 36th in time of possession. So again, you see what they like to do. They like to run the football and throw off of it. That's with PA waggles. That's with bootlegs. That's with something to get Brock Vandagriff out of really that target of Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Barron Sorrell, because they're going to get home if you just let a sitting duck, swim. So that's what I would look is a little bit more bear front.
I like that. It's a good point. And yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think the first time we saw it was the Michigan game. The first time we saw it, they broke it out in the Michigan game. And what I love about what PK and Nance and their creative collaboration, when they break out something that is matchup specific, they keep it in the repertoire. Like you see, them recycle it and use it over and over again. I love that. Once it's in, it's in. They're going to use it. All right. Thanks for the question. And special teams, I don't know. I imagine we still haven't seen the big return, have we? Am I missing? We haven't seen the big return. We've come close.
No, I don't know if you'll see the big return this year. I think Texas. I think Matthew Golden's a really talented kick returner. I think Silas Bolden's just as talented. I just think that there's something missing with the rest of that scheme. I don't know if it's the execution, the blocking, whatever, but there's something missing. I think it might just be an effort thing for the other 10 on the field.
I'm with you. It does feel like that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I watch a lot of films, so does CJ, and CJ, maybe he's a little bit more diligent than I. I do not break down the special teams plays. I watch them, but when I watch this offense defense, I rewind every play like 4 or 5 times, make sure I got everything right, make sure I'm looking at it. I won't gonna lie to you. I do not do that with special teams. Maybe I should start. Maybe I start looking at every individual block and looking at, are the guys holding their blocks? Are the guys getting good leverage on the blocks? Maybe I start looking at that.
Because think about it. I mean, against Georgia, you have a return to your own or to Georgia 15. It's called back for holding. You're backed up, right? You've had holdings on several different returns.
Remember he had that one earlier, and he came back for holding.
Yeah. The Vanderbilt opening kickoff. Now you're starting on your own 8-yard line. Like there's been holding calls, blocking the backs, whatever you want to say about the blocking on big returns, and that's not the returner's fault, obviously, but it's not something that Texas necessarily had to deal with a whole lot last year.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. That was one thing we all assumed would be great this year. We just took it for, we were like, oh, the return game is going to be amazing with Golden and Bolden. It's going to be great, and Jeff Banks has been amazing, and he has been. This may be the first inconsistent off year for the special teams since Jeff Banks has been here. And it's not bad. It's just not elite and like it was helping you win games like it was in previous years. All right, how about this one from Bevo Hookem Reasoner? He says, how is our defense compared to all the other all-time best defenses in Texas history? Back in week 3 or 4, y'all said they were on track for the best in the last 50 years or something like that. Yeah, let me find my notes, Bevo. I actually did this one day. I started looking up the all-time greatest defense in Texas. I might have my notes still here. If I find them, I'll let you know. But I was doing the research, and it's on pace to finish. If you're looking at just scoring defense, which is what I'm basically looking at, scoring defense, it's on pace. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. Boom. That's why I keep all my notes out everywhere. My wife hates this system that I have, but trust me, it works. All right, so if you're looking at all-time great scoring defenses, Hell, you got that 79 defense. So if you want to go modern era and don't want to go back to the 60s, all right, you want to take the 60s out of it, because the 60s, I mean, 61, you had a scoring defense that, allowed 6 points per game, something like that. So we'll take that out. 69, you had a scoring defense that allowed a little under 11 points per game. Take that out. You say we want to go modern era, say post 60s, all right? Then you would go to 79. In 79, your defense allowed 8.7 points per game. That 79 defense was nasty. The 83 defense, a lot of you guys talk about that 83 defense. 83 defense allowed 9.5 points per game. That is a nasty, stingy defense all time at Texas. The 2001 defense, 77 also was allowed 12.7 points per game. 2001, I was on that defense, allowed 13.7 points per game. That was pretty damn good. And then after that, they get into the teens. 2005, you allowed a little over 16 points per game. That's an all-time great defense at Texas. 2008, 18 points per game. You get into the modern era, it's really hard to keep teams below, 2 touchdowns in the modern era of football. So it'll go down. Where are they right now, CJ? They're allowing like 11 points per game, somewhere around there, 11 to 12. Yep. I go back and check it out. They would be one of the top 5 all-time greatest defenses in Texas football history. Right now, the season ended right now, they'd be top 5 all-time. And then, obviously, how they finish the season, you can compare them. But I think they'll end up top 5. Bebo and Charisma. No doubt.
That next rabbit hole you dive down, Rod, might be the best passing defense Texas has ever had, because right now they're number 1 in the country by a pretty significant margin, if I believe so. And I believe for folks on Twitter, if you follow Nash Talks Texas, he just threw out a pretty interesting tweet as well. Last 25 years, Texas would have the number 1 passing defense in the last 25 years, averaging about 136 yards per game through the air.
It's amazing.
For those that do the prize picks, the MyBookie, everything that go into the daily gambling, fantasy, whatever, Brock Vandegrift's line for passing total yards this upcoming weekend is 134. So that's,
no, you're right.
That's pretty low.
Yeah. No, you're right. This past defense, it's all-time great. I have to go back. My man CB has challenged me. I once came out with an all-time DBU rankings in the history of DBU, all the great DBs, and ranked them all. I'm outside the top 20, just so you guys know, so I'm not biased. But now I'm going to do a re-ranking. See, Jahdae Barron has played so well this season that I have to now re-rank all the all-time great DBs in Texas football history. But you're right. I need to go back and rank the secondaries as a whole now. That is challenging, to rank the secondaries as a whole. I might need to do that, because this secondary, I think, may be one of the best secondaries. I don't know if man for man they can compete with 05, which was loaded. With some of those other defense like the Jerry Gray, Johnny Johnson secondaries. We'll see man for man, but this secondary, man, I haven't seen a unit play as well as they have played at Texas in a really long time. Probably going back to the 2005 or 2008, 2009 group with Earl Thomas and Blake Gideon, the coach of the safeties right now. All right, yeah, not too bad, man. All right, before we get back to the questions here, I know we're getting close to the end of our live stream, so we really appreciate you guys hanging with us and participating. Let's thank a new sponsor that we have, our good friends at DG Construction. Really excited to have DG Construction a part of the On Texas football family. You can see the pictures right there. I can't show my wife these pictures because she's going to have me call DG Construction immediately, right? Because that's how good it looks. We can talk about an outdoor living space. She wants to get it done. I'm like, all right, man, we'll get it done. If she see these pictures, they will put her over the top. They do a great job, folks, and they'll do a great job for you. Texas fans in the Austin and San Antonio area, if you are dreaming of transforming your outdoor living spaces, look no further than DG Construction, San Antonio's premier hardscape and exterior living space contractor, celebrating 10 amazing years. So they've been in business a long time, folks. So they are tried and true. All right, celebrating 10 amazing years of delivering top-notch craftsmanship. The guys at DG Construction are experts at creating stunning driveways. See them right there. Patios, walkways, beautiful lawn improvements in either concrete or vivid pavers that match and enhance the curb appeal of your home's exterior. Whether you're in San Antonio or Austin, Kerrville, or anywhere in the Hill Country. Their dedicated team brings your residential and commercial visions to life, from luxurious artificial turf to sturdy house slabs and even foundation repairs. DG Construction has got you covered, folks. They're just a call away. Reach out to Mark Valdez. You can see, handsome fellow right there. You can see his picture. They're dedicated design consultant and a longtime subscriber of On Texas Football. That's right. He's family. I love that.
Let's go.
Free consultation, folks. 210-400-5643. That's 210. See the number right there. 210-400-5643. That is numbers to get a free consultation from Mark and his team. So don't wait, folks. Don't wait to make your outdoor dreams a reality. Give DG Construction a call or visit them online at dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com. Hook them from the folks at DG Construction, where outdoor dreams meet exceptional designs. I'm probably going to have to reach out to our friends at DG Construction. Got a baby girl now, and wifey wants to spend more time outside. Our backyard is not necessarily fit for that, and DG Construction is the perfect group to help us out with that outdoor living space. So check them out. I'll be doing so myself pretty soon. All right, getting back to the questions here. I know we got a few of them, so thank you guys. We'll try to power through these. How about this one from Todd Lacey? He says, Phillips, Williamson, and Fasusi, oh my, what would Texas class finish in the rankings if they get those three alone? Not to mention Hilson. Yeah, what about that ranking, that recruiting ranking there, CJ?
Yeah, sitting right now at number 4 with 23 commits in the class. Listen, Jerry Hamilton put up a note today on Texas Football, kind of laying out what might be or what it might take to be the number 1 class in the country. And I'll say this, it doesn't feel unreasonable as it might have been a few weeks ago. So a lot of these guys will be back on campus. Of course, we talked about it. Cade Phillips, Zion Williams, Michael Fasusi, all 3 will be on campus this weekend. Who knows what it might end up shaking out like, but my goodness, Texas is going to be in that number 2, number 3 fold, to say the least, at the very bottom of this class. And that's, of course, the floor. So it's really exciting.
That is really exciting, actually. And if they finish strong here in the season, that class is probably going to finish a bit stronger as well. Donald Britt says, what happens to season ticket holders when we have an extra game? Do they have a couple of days to buy their regular seat? That is a good question, Donald. I don't have the answers. Do you have the answer to that, CJ? I'm about to ask Bobby about this. That's a great question, Donald. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that you can put in a claim for your seats. You'll just have to buy them at market price or whatever it is from the university. I don't think it goes into your actual season tickets other than just you getting first grabs or claim at the seat.
Okay, good stuff there, CJ. How about this is from Jameson? This is a good point from Jameson. And it would signal a switch or imply that maybe Sark has changed his mentality, knowing what the identity of the team is now. Jameson says, I think Texas needs to start on defense, give our offense the shorter field so we can start faster. Rod and CJ, any thoughts? A lot of coaches, they prefer to start with defense or defer, I would say, with the coin toss. I'm with you, though, Jameson.
Yeah.
Your defense, I would trust Texas defense out there against any great coach's opening game plan. Because usually opening script, that's the best the team's got to throw at you. They're going to throw their best, cheat codes and force multipliers out there, that opening script. And I trust the Texas defense to take whatever they're going to throw at them and handle it really effectively. So I agree with you, Jameson. And it would set the tone, too, because they're likely to get 3 and out. I think their stop rate right now is 80%. It's like top 5 in the country. So
right, I'd have to go back. This might be something I do tomorrow. It feels like Texas has started every game except for maybe 2 on offense so far this year. It feels like they received the opening kickoff. They did it. They did it the last 3 games. They did it against Florida, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. I have to imagine it's north of 75% so far.
That's a good point. And how often have they won the toss and done it? They've done that like once or twice too, I thought. They definitely did Michigan. Yeah.
They did it because of wind at Michigan. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what he said. But I think because we were theorizing he should do it anyway prior to the game, and then he did it, but he didn't do it for the reasons we said it. He did it we said he should do it to, set the tempo and dictate the terms, and he said he did it because of weather. Either way, I applaud the decision and support it. Thank you for the question there, James. That was a good one there. Let's get back to it. Marco says, with the strength coaches now putting more emphasis on mobility, are non-contact injuries significantly reduced? Hard to say. You have to get the stats on it, Marco. Kind of from different teams. I'm sure they have those stats. Different strength and different training staffs, strength and conditioning staffs have that. There's no doubt. I think for Sark and his staff, there has been more of an from the coaches I've talked to, more of an emphasis on speed, mobility, and flexibility. And that helps. Supposedly the theory is that helps limit some of the non-contact injuries, is just the flexibility of players. So yeah, it's a good question. I don't have a better answer for you, Marco. I will ask around though. I promise you that.
That's a good question.
Do y'all, Chaz? Thank you, Chaz, for the question. Do y'all think Blue goes to the league or stays? Oh, running back. Yeah. That is a good question. With his production, he's had two back-to-back games with 100 yards from scrimmage. Is he going to be somebody that increases their draft stock tremendously by staying another year is the question.
That at this point, I kind of feel like who he's going to be as a running back, right? Yeah. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, right? He could come back. He could make that next step, but he's never going to be a guy that you can rely on 15 to 20 times between the tackles, right? He's going to be one of those gadget get in space running backs that I bet he would run a 4.29, 4.3 flat, right? That's just how fast he is. And if that's the case, that's going to be your market at the next level, right? And there's always going to be a need for those kind of guys, right? The Chiefs won several Super Bowls relying solely on guys just like that. Exactly. So I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't necessarily hurt him to come back, but I don't think he'd necessarily be missing out, or maybe, a much higher ceiling should he return for another year. I feel like at this point, you kind of just,
Yep. He might be advised to go to the league considering the value of the running back.
The shelf life of running backs, yeah.
Exactly. And the shelf life. And like we just mentioned, you're going to come back and increase your draft stock. Is that going to happen when you come to Texas? Maybe you can come back and start returning some kicks and do some other things. But I'm with you. I think we know what he presents now on the football field, and there is a place for him in the league. I don't know if he gets drafted as a result of that, though. Being drafted as a running back is tough these days. It's not easy. Keelan Robinson got drafted. Remember, he was a kick returner too. So I think Jaden Blue provides more than what he did on the field, but he had added value. Be interesting to see what Jaden Blue's value is if he decides to come out. So good question there. Let's thank our last sponsor of the meeting, Andy Ludicky, once again, and his team. We appreciate Andy for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. Andy, if you're looking to diversify, you need to reach out to Andy and his team. You may be someone like me that has their hands in multiple businesses. Well, Andy can help you diversify by finding you businesses that will fit your time allotment and your financial goals. Call him or email him to learn more about this process. If you're stuck in the corporate rat race with 2 weeks PTO and no control over the money you can make or your schedule in general, call Andy and he will take you through a process to help you find a business that will fit your skill sets and your financial goals. Franchise ownership isn't for everyone, but if you have a desire to take control of your financial destiny, call Andy today, 404-973-9901, or reach out to him via email at andy@myperfectfranchise.net. And thank you very much to Andy and his team for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. Thank you, CJ. We appreciate all of your nuggets of wisdom. We appreciate that as well. Before we get out of here, just real quick, because I know some people may want to revisit and review the nuggets you gave about recruiting before we get out of here. So real quick, the official visitors that you were thinking about, that you were mentioning earlier, that were going to be here for the Kentucky game. Can you go through that real quickly before we end the live stream?
Yeah, of course. 2025 defensive back Texas commit Zayless Hicks will be on his official visit for the Longhorns this weekend. Lufkin defensive lineman Zion Williams. We'll see if he shows up. Right now, we're banking on it that he will. Currently committed to LSU. That's someone that Kenny Baker, Steve Sarkisian, Pete Kwiatkowski, Johnny Nansen, they all liked a whole lot earlier in the cycle. He committed to Bo Davis and LSU. You see what's going on in Baton Rouge right now and some of the talk coming out of that, that program with Brian Kelly. He will be on campus for an official visit, as well as IMG Academy linebacker Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. Right now, Michigan feels like the favorite. Some of the in-state Florida schools trying to keep him home as well. He's expected on campus for an official, as well as 5 stars Cade Phillips, currently committed to LSU, and 5-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi, currently committed to Oklahoma. So busy weekend on the 40 acres for the Texas Longhorns. Of course, a 2:30 kickoff helps in that recruiting department as well.
Real quick before we get out of here, one question I saw from my man David Keith Williams. Hey, Joe, love you, bro. Appreciate that. David Keith says, Rod Baber, speaking of Cade Phillips, many view him as a safety rather than corner, which many view as the reason he decommitted from UT and committed to LSU. What's your view of him as a DB? I said earlier, I got a chance to actually personally work with the young man at a camp in his youth, actually, thanks to Anthony Williams. And I think he actually can play corner and play safety. I think he can play both. And you can play both, and you can play nickel. I think he's one of those guys that actually can translate to play both. Now, ideally, where does he project to? I think NFL people will look at his frame and his body and go safety.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Yeah, because if you look at him, once you see him walking up, you go, good Lord. I mean, his arms, it's like an avatar. And so we're automatically programmed to think, oh, that guy's a safety. Look at him. But when you watch him play and you actually look at his skill set, I do believe he can play corner. And I think, and honestly, I probably pumped him up at the camp, telling him he can play corner a lot too. Because I think he's great at bump and run. I think he actually can play press with those long arms, and I think he's got the speed to play corner too. At Texas, the way they're cross training DBs, you can pitch him as a defensive back. The way you're using Jahdae Barron, the way that you're cross-training other guys like Jelani McDonald and some other players, I think there's a way to say, hey, Kay, we just training DBs, man. You may be playing corner one year, maybe playing safety the next year. But you know what? NFL scouts are going to love it because you're going to show off your versatility that way. All right. Thank you for the questionnaire, David Key Williams. And thank you all for all of your participation. Really appreciate you guys tonight. Thanks, CJ. You are the man. Thanks for all your hard work and all of your wisdom. Thank you, Will. We appreciate the kind words. Thank Matthew behind the scenes. He's a real MVP. None of this would happen without him. We probably could do it, but it would be a terrible show. Thanks to our sponsors, DG Construction. Thanks to the CarrotConcierge.com as well. Thanks to our friends over at HomeField, HomeFieldApparel.com. I'll go check them out. Also, thank you to Andy Ludicky and his team. Really appreciate them for sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, for CJ and for my man Matthew behind the scenes, for all of our great sponsors, thank you guys for watching and for listening. And until next time, hook 'em horns.